purpose. Now, again, coming back to Sayyid Hussein Nasr, we also, we've been talking about the obstacle in modern society, but we also have to understand that there are certain strengths in modern society as well, that there is a silver lining in modern society as well. And if we understand what those strengths are, we can use them to our advantage. One of the strengths that we find in modern society, at no time have human beings, adults and children, at no time have been so much looking for purpose and meaning in life. Right? We're all looking for a purposeful life. We're all looking for a meaningful life. The students sitting in your class, they're also looking for a sense of direction in life. They're looking for meaning in life. So look at what Shaykh Hussein Nasr says. He says, the modern lifestyle is also characterized to a large extent by an earnest search for meaning. It is the loss of the meaning of life for many of the young that leads them either down the road of immediate sensual gratification through sexuality, or the use of drugs, and in some cases to violence and crime, or the quest for new philosophies, cultures, and even the quest for new religions as well. We're not saying do not have fun in your classrooms. We're saying that your focus should be to provide a meaningful classroom, a meaningful activity. You should be asking yourself, is this particular initiative that I'm doing meaningful for them or not meaningful for them? So as far as classroom directives go, I'm just going to end with that for this particular section. First thing I want to be very clear about, that we should have diverse methods of teaching, and they should be employed in class to assist diverse learners. We recognize that students learn in different ways. Some are audio learners, some are visual learners, some are hands-on learners. When I talk about this issue, by no means am I saying that we should not have different ways of teaching them or different activities whilst we're teaching them. We should use whatever we need to do to help them understand the concept and also to help them retain the concept as well. Secondly, the activities that we develop in class should be meaningful. That's the question we should be asking ourselves. And what is meaningful? Meaningful is anything that leads us towards understanding concepts and helps us in building faith and building character. The third point I wanted to make as well is we need to build capacity to focus. We're finding that there's a lack of capacity within our youngsters and our youth to focus. Sometimes we're sitting in class, we're giving a talk, and you find that somebody just has to use their phone. They have to doodle, they have to do something. The mind is just not allowing them to focus. Don't have that ability to focus. I need to be doing something else at the same time as well. Alright? Now sometimes that is needed, that's good, but we also have to help them focus. Unfortunately, the way that we're raised over here, watching all those shows in the media, the cartoons that they watch, the way society is geared, they're not given the ability to focus. Their attention span is not more than 2 minutes before you have to jump off to a different topic or you have to do something different. And you know what? We need to bring them back where they're able to focus, read articles, read books, listen to lectures. So in your classes, I'd like you to help them in reading articles. You move from smaller articles to larger articles, listening to short lectures, and then to longer lectures, and also help them in self-reflection as well. Of course, that's going to depend on which age you're teaching and which class you're teaching. You'll have to use your judgment on that as well. The last thing I also wanted to add, which is not on there on the screen, is to say that we also want to help them in doing long-term projects. Projects which don't necessarily bring about instant gratification, instant achievements, but they work hard, they strive, they struggle, and finally, after a period of time, they achieve something and they find fulfillment in that as well. We want to develop that sort of work ethic in them as well. Is there anything I'm missing that you'd like to add over here? Yes, sir?
Through my own lesson, I've had some psychology classes.
Yes.
One thing I would add to the definition of hedonism is the idea of external gratification versus internal. So, fun is a relative word.
Correct.
And I like reading books. That's fun for me. And I think the idea is, and they've done studies on this, that if you pick a bunch of children and you make them draw stuff, and they say they like drawing stuff, if you give them candy every time they draw stuff, they'll start expecting candy instead. So they'll shift from drawing because they want to draw to drawing because they're getting something out of it. And then if you take that candy away, they'll stop drawing, even though they were originally interested in doing it. So hedonism is more the fact that if I do something, I'm going to get something out of it. Versus internal gratification is, I want to do it because I'm interested in doing it.
That's a very important point that Az-Zahraa raises. We want to inculcate the idea that even mental pleasures can be pleasurable, acquiring knowledge can be pleasurable, and even spiritual experiences can be more powerful and more pleasurable than, let's say, physical experiences. Anything else before we move on? Yes, that's it.
Just to add on to building the capacity to focus, I find that that's definitely a huge issue, especially with the younger kids. We have such a difficult time getting them to stay focused or to listen to us talk for more than 5 minutes. I also did notice that we're in a generation now where things have shifted from reading and playing outside to constantly being on phones and on the computer and on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. And apparently studies show that social media plays a role in lowering our attention span because of how it's a constant distraction, it's constantly, you feel this need to check your phone, we're being fed information so quickly that we can't stay focused on something for too long. So, yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Thank you for raising that second point. I call it the YouTube phenomena. I don't know if you've been on YouTube or looking at something, it's not interesting, what do you do? What do you do? There's like 10 other options on the side, you click on one. Alright, it comes up, alright, now it's not fast enough for me, move on to the next item, right? I can't focus if it's taking too much time for me to understand something, or I have to be patient in front of the screen and watch something so that I can understand something meaningful. It's just too much for me, I move on to the next one, right? Yes, you're right about that as well.
There's too much information that comes thrown at you that you have to pick and choose.
Sure.
And there's a judgment call, which one could be a better thing to be focusing on than the other. Everything is so overwhelming.
And what we're trying to do is to say, let's build that patience within them so that they understand that building character takes time, understanding things does take time, and building faith also will take time. It may not be immediately gratifying, you may have to work hard at it, but eventually it will pay off. We really have to create that sort of value within them as well. Sister Kristen.
I just wanted to go off her point with
Sure.
the internet and stuff. People have such short attention spans on the internet now that in internet culture, a phrase was developed that you could say to someone that is TLDR, too long, didn't read.
Oh.
Basically meaning you wrote too much, I don't have the time to read it, make it shorter.
Sure, right. Interesting. Alright. Moving on to the next discussion, which is also a very, very important discussion.
Too long, didn't we?
I know I'm running out of time, so I'm going to try to wrap this one up very quickly, maybe another 5 to 7 minutes, and we'll be done with this, inshallah. I've chosen these discussions because there is discussion about it happening in the community, or when I talk to people and I observe what's happening in the community, I observe this as well, and I think it's very important for us as teachers to understand this and also be cognizant of it when we are teaching our classes. Another common expression in today's culture is when you talk about religion and you ask somebody, what is your religion, and do you believe your religion is right, and do you believe that the other beliefs are wrong? And it's a very strong question to ask. More and more we're finding that the response that we get from everybody, not just children, adults as well, last night as well, for example, is, look, this is what we believe, and that is what they believe, and we don't really know who's right and who's wrong. This is our belief, that's their belief. We don't want to judge them, they don't want to judge us. And if you ask them, well, is your religion the truth? The answer you get is, well, who knows if this is the truth or not, and this is what I believe right now. Maybe their religion is the truth, but we don't really know. Can you understand the truth? Well, I'm not really sure if we can understand the truth or not, but that's what we're believing for right now. And there's a reason for why we have developed this sort of an expression and this sort of a culture. When you live by yourself in a community where you're all Muslims, or you're in a society where you're all Muslims, kind of believe in what everybody else believes in, you have strong convictions about it as well. But when you live in a multicultural society, and there are other religions over there as well, and somebody comes and asks you, so you're saying that your religion is right, and that my religion is wrong, is that what you're saying? And And sometimes that makes us very uncomfortable. We don't know how to respond to that. So the easiest way to respond to that is to give such a response, to say, well, that's what I believe in right now. This is what you believe in right now. We're not really sure who's right or who's wrong, what is truth or what is false. We'll find out later on, or maybe we'll find out in the hereafter as well. So what this leads us to, it leads us to number one, skepticism. This whole culture of questioning the attitude towards facts, beliefs, and knowledge. We don't know whether this is a fact or it's not a fact, whether it's a belief or it's not a true belief or it's a false belief. And an aspect of skepticism, which is what we're dealing with right now here, is subjectiveness. Subjectiveness is this whole idea that there are certain realities which only exist in the mind, and they don't have an example or an extension in the world outside of us. Now, this is something that I just want to spend a little bit of time explaining. There's really a wonderful lecture about it by Shaykh Rizwan Arastu. Shaykh Rizwan Arastu. This month of Muharram, he gave 12 lectures in the Austin Center over there, IABA. You can find it on YouTube. And he was talking about some of the paradigms that we're facing in modern society. So some very interesting discussions over there. For example, one night he decided to talk about the concept of falling in love. Is that Islamic or non-Islamic? The idea of Islam and homosexuality, for example. One of the things that he talked about is religion. Is it opinion or is it fact? Now, some things are what we call objective, and some things are what we call subjective. For example, subjective is something that is subject to opinion. There's no right or wrong in it, all right? So, if we look at a painting, right? Do you have a question?
Oh, we were asking if it's the same Arastu that came to
No, this is his cousin, Shaykh Ali Azhar Arastu. This is Shaykh Rizwan Arastu, the one who authored the book on the tafsir of Dua Nutba, and then right now, recently, he's authored the book on the tafsir of, Usul al-Kafi, the book of intellect and foolishness. All right? Some very, very interesting lectures. You don't want to miss those lectures. Some things are subjective. They're subject to opinion. So when you look at a painting, for example, somebody asks you, is it a beautiful painting or not? For some person, it may be a beautiful painting. For another person, he may say, that's not a beautiful painting for me. And that's okay. It's open to opinion. Beauty is in, let's say, the eye of the beholder, if we accept that. So that's something that exists in your mind. It doesn't have an extension in the outside world. But then we say some things are objective, right? Objective in the sense that it doesn't matter what your perspective is on that issue. When you take an unbiased view of that issue, it's either right or wrong, true or false, that way or not that way, and there's a way of checking it as well. So right now, if I go outside and ask you, what is the temperature outside? Well, the temperature really does not matter on your perception. The temperature is the temperature. Or how cold you feel, maybe that's up to your perception of it, but the temperature is either 7 degrees or 8 degrees, and there's a way of checking it. You pull out a thermometer, and you could say 7 degrees, and that's 7 degrees. It doesn't really matter what my perspective on that particular issue is. Now, we've got this culture right now, we say things are not black and white, most things are gray, right? And yes, I'm agreeing with you that there are some things which are not necessarily black and white, they're gray. But the question is, when we talk about religious facts, basic facts about our religion, are they black and white? Are they objective? Or are they also subjective? They're open to our opinion, right? Are they also in the gray as well? What do you think?
No. They're not in the gray.
They're not in the gray, right? We think of them as black and white. Haq and batil, truth and falsehood, alright? When it comes about the basic facts of our religion, we don't need to shrink down to subjectiveness and say, hey, this is my opinion and that is your opinion. No, this is my opinion because I believe this is the truth and what opposes it is wrong. So let's look at the next slide. The word for doubt in Arabic is shak, and skepticism is shakakiyah, alright? The opposite of shak is yaqeen. Yaqeen is certitude. Now, this whole issue is important to us because when we bring about subjectiveness within ourselves and we say we don't know whether this is the truth or not the truth, it makes it very difficult for us to have conviction and certainty about our faith. It makes it very difficult for us to develop yaqeen about our faith. And this concept of yaqeen is a very, very important concept in the Quran. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. The opening of the Quran. الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ وَهُمْ بِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ comes to the hereafter, when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they have certainty. What is certainty? Certainty means that what I believe in is right, and that which I don't believe in, that's opposing my belief, it is wrong. Now, our goal is to help our students to develop certitude, to develop yaqeen in our beliefs, and to believe that what we believe in is actually based in reality. So in the Quran, that's a very important concept. One of the concepts of the Quran is this concept of haqq. Some things are haqq, truth, and the concept of batil, and some things are false and they're wrong. When you immerse yourself in the culture of the Quran never shies away from saying, this is haqq and this is batil. What I'm teaching you is the haqq because it mirrors reality, and what others are saying is batil because it doesn't mirror reality. For example, this verse of the Quran, Allah is the one who sends His apostle with guidance, وَدِينِ الْحَقِّ, and the religion of truth, لِيُظْهِرَهُ عَلَى الدِّينِ كُلِّهِ, so that He may make it prevail over all other religions, even though the mushrikeen may not like that fact. Now, one of the questions you may ask me right now is to say, then that means I'm supposed to go over to my friends who are not Muslims and our colleagues who are not Muslims and tell them that you are batil and what you believe in is wrong and what you believe in is falsehood.
You go ahead.
And you're going to hell as well. Yeah, that's good as well. That's not the discussion that I'm having right now. My question is, even before we go and talk to somebody, however we want to convey our message to that person, my question is that even clear in our mind? Ourselves, do we believe that I'm a Muslim because the beliefs of Islam are haqq, they match the truth, and those beliefs which don't accord with the beliefs of Islam are batil, they're wrong? We should be able to at least say that to ourselves and teach that to our children as well. I say that to be a Christian means that a person remains genuine to the beliefs of Christianity as well. That he believes that he's a Christian because the beliefs of the Christians are haqq in his perspective, and the beliefs which are not Christian are batil in his perspective. Even Richard Dawkins, you know Richard Dawkins? Yeah? He wrote that book called? The God Delusion, right. Richard Dawkins is an atheist, right? Sometimes he seems to have more yaqeen in what he believes in than sometimes, for example, I do in what I believe in, right? Because Richard Dawkins, when he comes out in his book, he says, what I'm telling you is the truth, is haqq, and what you believe in, if you're a theist, is batil, and I hope by the end of this book, you will come to believe in what I believe in as well, right? We have to have yaqeen in the things that we believe in. We have to believe that this is the haqq, and what is opposite it is the batil. Now, just quickly moving on and wrapping up, does Islam oppose a questioning attitude? So let's come to skepticism. We say as far as subjectiveness goes, we believe that the teachings of our religion are not subjective to people's opinion. This is the haqq. The next question, what about skepticism? Right? Are we dogmatic? We just come and say to our children, these are our beliefs, you're going to believe in them, and you're not going to be questioning them. Alright? Which you find in traditional societies. Not at all. Alright? Here's what Islam teaches us. Number one, Islam encourages us to have a questioning attitude, and it says that a questioning attitude is a precursor to acquiring knowledge. So you have heard the famous hadith, a man who comes to the Holy Prophet and says, I have some questions in my mind. I ask myself who created me. Then I said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created me. And then I ask myself, who created? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I got stuck over there, and I'm afraid with these questions in my mind, I have lost faith. And the Prophet of Allah, according to one narration in Usul al-Kahfi, says to him, ذَلِكَ وَاللَّهِ مَحْضُ الْإِيمَانِ. No, actually, the questions that you're asking is very faith itself. So, questions are a precursor to knowledge and faith. 2, Islam encourages a questioning attitude with a genuine intention to learn. I came across a very interesting hadith. So it seems that our 6th Imam used to teach classes as well. And you know, he had a wide variety of students in his classes. Some of them were serious learners, and some of them, you know, sometimes wanted a bit more fun in the class. Alright? So sometimes when they got bored, they used to ask some very strange questions. You know, maybe to spice it up a little bit, or maybe to see how the Imam's going to respond. So one day, the student of his, or whoever he was, he raises his hand and he says, I have a question. What's your question? مَا تَعْمُ الْمَاء. What is the taste of water? Can you explain to me what is the taste of water? Now what is the Imam supposed to tell them? Right? So the Imam gives him two answers. He answers his question, but he gives him two answers. He says to him, قَالَ سَلْ تَفَقُّهًا وَلَا تَسْأَلْ تَعَنُّتًا. When you ask questions to learn. And as long as you're asking a question to learn about faith, it is a fair question. We should encourage it in the classes. We should encourage it in our community. We should never look down upon a fair question. But don't ask to discredit somebody. Don't ask to tire somebody. Don't ask to distract somebody. Don't ask just because, hey, it might be a fun question to ask in class, and maybe it'll bring about some laughter in class as well. Then the Imam says to him, وَطَعْمُ الْمَاءِ طَعْمُ الْحَيَاةِ. The taste of water is the taste of life, right? You don't feel the taste of water until you don't have water. It's like life. You don't feel the taste of life until you start losing your life from it. So, and the third point that I want to make is Islam considers skepticism as a precursor to certainty. I think I've shared one thing with some of you. Shaykh Murtaza, his books are alive because he never shied away from asking questions, from being skeptical, from being critical in his books. But one of the biographers, he says about Shaykh Murtaza never shied away from skepticism. He saw walking in the valley of skepticism as an important precursor to reach the peak of certainty. Walking in the valley of skepticism is an important precursor to reach the peak of certainty. There is nothing wrong in passing by the valley of skepticism. The problem is we remain in the valley of skepticism, and that is not correct. So, classroom directives now for you. Number one is we want to encourage classroom discussions and questions. We want them to talk about these issues anytime they have a question. We don't want to put down the question. Number two, the role of the teacher, your role, is to guide the discussion from the valley of skepticism to the peak of certainty. And that means that you'll have to do some extra reading sometimes. When you want to teach certain classes, you'll have to prepare yourself. You will have to listen to lectures. You may have to come and ask me or another scholar some questions. Three, provide strong rational proofs for our beliefs and practices. But the fourth one, and the reason I brought up this whole discussion, is for the last and the fourth point is speak with certainty, speak with conviction about your belief. When you deliver that material, deliver it with full conviction, right? Don't ever be half-hearted about it, neither in your speech nor in the way you deliver it. Children can pick up on that, right? The youth pick up on that. When you talk about it, don't make excuses about it. The way it is that's the way you're going to teach it. This is what our beliefs are, but this is what our beliefs are. We're not going to try and sugarcoat them. We're not going to try and justify them. We're not going to try and say, hey, in today's society, maybe this is not the best thing to do or not the best thing to say. No. These are our beliefs. These are how we teach them. We say them with certainty. We say them with yaqeen. That yaqeen which you have in your heart is the yaqeen that the students will have in their heart. Never expect them to have a greater belief in something than you have in that thing, or than you have in how you are delivering it. Let's say whatever we have to say with certainty, and let's say it with conviction as well. Sallallahu alaihi wa sallam.